Call back? The brother can ask the question again.
Okay, want me to start over?
Yeah.
Okay, my question is, if, Enki was saying here to be ruler over the earth, and Anu sent Enlil ruler over the skies to correct everything. My question is, did Enki send you redeeming himself by sending his son Murdoch, showing that he can do things as said to be done, or did Anu send you, my master teacher?
Anu sends Enki, and Anu sends me. Enki couldn't send me anywhere. Because though I am spiritually related to Enki as his son, I reject everything Enki stands for because he opposed Anu. And it was a strong decision because I was conceived through a reptilian wife of Enki as a disagreeable, a warrior, a defender. And I had to change my whole genetic structure, recalibrated so that I could work on behalf of the new, but act as a defender of the innocent at the same time. So I had to be given the ability to kill when killing is not in the Anunnaki's nature. Thus it was necessary to be born to Eve, who was a reptilian, and I'd have a reptilian mentality as well as an Anunnaki's mentality as far as agreeable, and disagreeable way. I'd have both of those attributes because this is what you have. You have both an agreeable nature and a disagreeable nature sitting in this room. And I don't mean there are some agreeable people and some disagreeable people. Everybody sitting in this room has agreeable in them and disagreeable. Everybody in there has a little devil in them. Everybody in there has a little God in them. In order for the being to come to you, to raise you up, they've got to have the kind of nature you have so that you can't trick them, because you're very good at it. Not this time. Nothing to resist. Don't want to triple. Anything else? The brother from Washington came down a long way. And people from Washington, I assume, are in the house. Good to see y'all out here. He did a very good job. He's a good teacher. I know y'all learned a lot. Makes me feel good to see young brothers coming up, because nothing is sadder than seeing a purpose destroyed, because maybe the leadership harbors and controls all the information for themselves in order to look heavy. And then when they pass on, there's no one to pick up that baton and keep running. It's good to see that these young men are coming up, and I'm hoping to see some young sisters get up there. Not necessarily, young doesn't mean nothing to me, though. You know how I was. Young has nothing to do with age. It means in stages of learning. I want to see some of these young sisters get up and also teach and carry this word out, because I know you know what time we're in. I know you can see the world and conditions of the world. And needless to say, the clock is ticking louder than it ever ticked before. And time is running out. And I'm not going to preach doomsday. I'm not going to tell you that the end of the world is coming, the end of a kind of world is coming, the end of a kind of rulership is coming, and it's high time for it to go. So that the new world, and not new world order, but the new world can come into play where love rules and not emotions. All right? What else you want to talk to me about? Go ahead.
Me and some brothers was building on the idea of why is it we have to get back to a state of Wapu, and we were looking at it as a neutral state. Okay, and I was thinking on that.
Sorry, you look at it as a neutral state.
Yeah, we look at it as a neutral state. I'm saying Wapu as a neutral state. And
whatever that means.
I didn't hear you say.
I don't know what that means. I'll go with you with that. I don't know what it means. Go ahead.
Okay, but I was looking at that and I was thinking, well, maybe while we're here dealing with this society, we have to focus more on our positive nature and suppress the disagreeable side of us, so that we could kind of like balance things out. Because I remember when you were saying that our planet has been surrounded by a almost disagreeable crystal-like energy thing, and I was thinking that if we were to focus more on our positive nature, suppress the disagreeable, will balance things out and allow us to be able to cope with the things that's going on in this society now. But later on, once we establish our state of Nuwapu, we would then be able to get back to that neutral state and then exercise both our agreeable and disagreeable using sound right reason. So if that's what's going on, is that what's going on? Is that why we have to focus more on our positive nature?
That probably a little heavier than what I would say. To me, sound right reasoning is already in each of us. What has happened is all our reasoning, our sound judgments, and most important, right decisions has been overlaid by theatrics. In other words, they took out reason and replaced it with belief. And in belief, if you try to reason out what you believe, you're usually called a blasphemer or a troublemaker. If you belong to a religious denomination, let's say Christianity, for instance, for starters, and you're a devout Christian, and someone attempts to assassinate the Pope, you follow? You say that's a very sad thing. That's a very sick thing to do. That's how you see it. And that is a way to see it. But in Nuwapu, the next way to see it is, why is the Pope ducking? You follow? Why would the Pope attempt not to die if the greatest of all glories is to be back in the bosom of God? And if you are the Pope, you're about as close to the bosom of God as most or any man could possibly be. You have to ask, see, what Nuwapu does is it raises that kind of question through reasoning that bothers people. Because it says, why is the Pope driving around in a bulletproof vehicle if him and God is tight? Why is he trying to tell me to be good in order to go to heaven to be with God, and he don't want to go to heaven? Billy Graham passed out giving a lecture, and he's on his fourth collapse. His fourth collapse. And he is fighting to live. He is trying to live. He's got all kind of tubes in him, and breathing machines and heart pumping machines, and he wants to live. I would assume, get with me, I would assume that Billy Graham would want to die if Billy Graham believes in heaven. If he believes that when you die, you go to God and you go to heaven, why is he trying so hard to stay here? And the first thing that happens to most of the people in this room, once they become frustrated, is, I don't want to live. If they're religious, they don't want to go to God. Why is the Pope and Billy Graham and a multiple amount of other religious leaders, including my beloved brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan, standing around with a bunch of bodyguards standing around? Why doesn't he want to die if he believes in heaven? I don't believe in heaven. So I know some niggas can stand up with a gun right now and pull the trigger. So I got to learn to duck, because I don't believe. I don't believe in that shit. You to be so God-fearing that you don't have enough sense to duck when a nigga stand up with that gun. But the men that say they believe that they're there's some heavenly abode that we all go to, and that God is there waiting to embrace us, and his son meets us on the way through the light. Why are they trying not to get there? This is what Nuwapo is. So it's not about Nuwapo being neutral. Nuwapo is that dormant presence of divine in each individual that makes you question everything you are about to do, be it good or evil. When you're about to do something that is wrong, and you know it's wrong, something says to you, now you know this is wrong. And then something else says, but it's fun. Everybody that gets ready to bungee jump, everybody. While they're tying this thing on the ankle, a voice in the back of their head says, now you know this is some dumb shit to do. You know this is stupid now. Right? And as they get near their edge, they say, you know, I'm telling you now, this is real stupid. And as they look over the edge, they backtrack the rubber all the way back to their ankle. And something says, I'm giving you one more chance to think this out. Now this is stupid. And then they jump. And after they defeated that divine awareness in them, jumping becomes fun. It becomes a recreation. It becomes a ritual. Then they want to try something else, daring. Once you coat over or blot out that Nuwapo in you, and this is done through concentrated effort, it's done through words, it's done through gestures, it's done through the media. When I was talking to some people yesterday, I was saying, I want you all to think about this for a minute. Everybody complains about people talking about them behind their backs. You know what I mean? Someone, let me talk about me behind my back. I don't want nobody to talk to me any other place but behind my back. Because behind my back is my face. Behind my face would be the problem. So if someone said, I'm going to talk about you behind your face, then they're back there. But if they're talking about you behind your back, then they're standing in front of you. That may sound silly, but whoever has taught us to accept this ass-backwards thinking has succeeded in tricking us to think the way they want us to think. And they tricked us into fighting Biggie Smalls against Tupac and had them really thinking they were gangsters. I mean, they really think they're gangsters. They make the faces, they make the videos with the hats and the guns, and they walk in the clubs like the Godfather, and then they shoot each other. And I think this Bible says, as a man thinketh, so shall it be. These people think themselves into their own destruction. But what type of tricks are used to make us susceptible to that type of thinking? It was frightening. How easily is it done? I remember talking to y'all months ago when kids were still wearing baggy clothes, and I said, pretty soon they're going to be fitting clothes. Yeah. They're going to tighten the clothes up. Sneakers has got to go. Lugs are in. After lugs comes in wingtips. Pretty soon the women are wearing tight clothes and wigs and nails and lips and everything because it's money involved. It ain't about nothing else but money. Now, how is it that they can have 90% of the people who are on television you see today wear velvet? Because somebody decides it's time to bring in velvet. And now people are wearing velvet. And they decide next month it's time to bring in satin. People be wearing satin. That's because you have given up that Nuwapo in you. You listen, you open your eyes and you digest things, and what you digest is able to change the way you feel and think. It actually goes against your better or best judgment. You see what I'm saying? And that way they can say stuff like, you can't make up a word like overspending because it's not in the dictionary. And I say, well, there's no dictionary in the dictionary either. There's definitions. And if you got an understanding, an overstatement, I can have overstanding and an understanding. Is it bothering you because you knew one day I would figure out that this Bible and the Quran, they give us a great understanding. They have a lot of knowledge in it, a lot of wisdom in it, and a great understanding. But the only being or beings that was here before it, that would overstand it, give all that, or overview it, or write it, would have to be God. Mortals would be given it to understand it, to stay beneath it. But God's was there when it was happening. And that's why it's called mystery. And mystery prefix my story. That's why they don't want to ever call it a history book. And you can tell them, well, because Abraham was a Chaldean, and Chaldean's a geographical place on the planet, and he's back in time, then this, if I read the story of Abraham, I'm reading the history of a man. So this is a history book. I said, no, this is the holy book. I said, well, okay, then it's a holy history book. It's a history book. Now, what does the history have to do with what I'm doing today? Nothing. So why are so many people caught up in this history book? Because it gives you the key to controlling the emotions of people. It gives you a word that I greatly dislike, believe. And why I hate the word believe so much is because when people get to talking about you in front of your back, the first thing they do, in most cases, is say, you know what I think? I have an opinion here. That's what they say. I think, well, Jesus is supposed to come back and get us. You say, you believe that? That's what I believe. Well, I choose not to believe it. Then they say, well, you're a blasphemer. I choose not to accept the title, not to believe it. Then they say, well, you're a blasphemer. I choose not to accept the title of blasphemy. You're a cult. I choose not to accept the word cult. You're crazy. I choose not to accept the word crazy. See, the moment I can instill in you a belief, an unconfirmed fact, then I can point at the whole Chinese nation, label them, and call them the devil. And because you want to believe it, you will. You won't investigate. Because I think when I said, excuse me, are there black devils? Eyebrows raised up this far. No, he ain't. No, bruh, Esau is not going to go there. And I said, yes, I am. Because that's Nuwapo. That's reality. When you go there and say, are you going to tell me that all black people are good and all white people, Chinese people are bad? You're going to tell me that you have never met a black devil? You? Can anybody there tell me that you've never met a black devil? Someone who's black, Bongo Bibba, and say that he doesn't have the devil in him? Or her? Come on with it if you can. So you know what that would make us? And we persist in that doctrine? What? Hypocrites. But religion teaches people to be hypocrites. Because it teaches you to love your neighbor if they belong to your same faith. Now that doesn't add the last chapter. It basically says, love thy thy neighbor as thy love thyself. That means, being I'm a Christian, anybody who's not like myself, I don't have to love. It's a little tricky, but as we listen, those things trick our minds, and then it feels all right for me to say, well, if I am a Muslim and you are a Christian, it's all right for me to blow up the World Trade Center. Because I believe that you are a bad person. Because you do not believe what I believe. You see where it's ruled us? But when Enlil and the rest of your guardian, what you might call angelic beings, angelos, start to approach, you had to be reprogrammed as a being. You had to be prepared for beings that when they talk to you, they talk straight at you. They don't talk in belief. They don't talk in approximates. They don't talk in parables. That's why I look at the Quran, it starts in chapter 2, it says, and Allah has a parable for you. And you go, and the word mathala, the likeness is the word they're going to use. And you say to yourself, that almighty, powerful, boundless God of all the universe has to speak in parables? Can't he just say, don't do that? Does he have to do something like, the doing of that, in accordance with the results of the doing of that, could result in a very tragic, just say, nigga, don't do that. It would be a heck of a lot simpler for me. The Quran would be less pages, more people would read it, and things would get on. When you open this book here, to the book of St. John's, let me see what it says here. It's a nice little book. It's still a nice book. It says here, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things was made by Him, and without Him there was not anything made that was made. In Him was the light, and the light was the light of man. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Why is it necessary to do all of that? Let me see what he was trying to say. There was a beginning. And there was a word spoken in that beginning. And that was God. And the word that was spoken was light. And the light made life. That's why it is man. Simple. Why does God study Shakespeare? Why does he have to emulate Shakespeare? Why is it that God does not want every individual to pick up this book and get a clear understanding of it? Why must we have people to come along and give us tafsir of the Quran, interpretations of things? Why isn't the Quran so clear that everybody that picks it up would understand it? The Quran tells you it has no intentions of being clear. It starts off alif, lam, mim. 3 letters. Then it goes ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Sounds nice. Most of you are going, what is he saying? Let me tell you that most Arabic-speaking Muslims are also saying, what is it saying? And they say it in Salah, and they're still saying, because I did it for 50 years, not 50, 40, before they click the light on. Said, what is it saying? So you go back and say, brother, what does alif, lam, mim mean? Those are 3 letters. A, L, and M. They're the initial letters of the Surah Al-Baqarah of the Quran. What do they mean? They say, nobody knows. Any ex-Muslims in there? Don't be ashamed to hide now. You know you're here. All I had to do was yell Assalamu alaikum when I came in. Y'all said, what is it? When it came out, you wasn't it? No. They don't know what it means. Yet, the Muslim world will hold up the Quran and say, this is undisputed guidance. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. That is this. El-Kitabu, book, la, no, raiba, doubt, fee, in it. They literally open it with there's no doubt in it. And then when you ask them, what does those three letters mean, they say, I don't know. And somewhere along the line, they have not made the equation with I don't know and I wish I did know with doubt. What does that mean? It means that the initial writer knew that anybody who started after that and called it unquestionable or undoubted was a believer. Thus they call themselves mu'minun or mu'minat and mu'min. We are believers. The word mu'min doesn't even mean believe. Come on, I may not mean faith. And faith is damn near as bad as belief. But you still ask me to subscribe to something that's not been confirmed. You see that? But as we approach the time, or what they refer to as the information age, we are being informed by our beings or ancestors, or as I often would say, descendants, or their descendants. They are triggering you now. They are opening you up where you have the ability to be prepared for their presence. Because in the state of mind that most Christians and Muslims are in, if Jesus came out the sky, they wouldn't know what the heck to do. They're waiting and they're saying, the reverend is saying, I'm telling y'all that Jesus is coming now. Soon now. But if Jesus walked into the church, and it was an Ethiopian Baptist church, and Jesus had blonde hair and blue eyes, which is the kind of games that God likes to play, or walked in a white church and had a big old afro, which is the kind of games God likes to play. Whether you like it or not, we got away with games. We can go into God's games if you want to play. Whether you like it or not, we got away with games. We can go into God's games if you want to. What would happen? And he walked into the church of the Black Madonna right now in Atlanta, and he had blonde hair and blue eyes and said, I am Jesus. They would throw him out the church. And he walked into a KKK church. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know it's true. And had a big old whoop-whoopy-doo afro, big old Michael Jackson afro about and said, I am Jesus. They would throw him out the church. Well, I think it's a little biased to say that they would crucify him in the KKK church, but they wouldn't crucify him in the Black Muslim church, because the Black Muslim church is equivalent to the KKK church. The same ignorance prevails. Whether you want to accept Farrakhan as the Grand Wizard or not is your business. But anybody with any intelligence sees that he is just as dangerous as the Grand Wizard in a philosophy that teaches people to hate each other. When nature does not segregate in what I call God's games. The people right now in Canada that are buried under ice and living in shelters by the thousands are not really concerned with their religious doctrine or dogma right now. Most of them are concerned about heat and a sandwich. Some warm clothes and a place to sleep and a sandwich to eat. You follow? And they would share that sandwich with a white person, all black person, anybody would share, because nature, Reverend, nature is bringing the reality to us. Because nature doesn't segregate. Humankind is way past their limits on the planet. You are supposed to have been going ever since you started taking needles or vaccines to survive. When you have to immune your body against nature, when a child gets all these vaccines, nature is basically saying, I want y'all out of here. I want y'all off my planet, out my house. Because y'all are menace to each other, every animal, every tree. I want y'all out. So now when the baby's born, the doctors tell them, you must get at least 16 shots, I think we talked about before. Before you're 16 years old, or you have any of a number of diseases that would kill you. Who is providing these diseases? God. There'd be no diseases if God didn't want diseases. Are you hearing me? And you say there'd be no AIDS if God didn't want it. Say, well, some men, they went into a laboratory and they experimented and they came up with this germ. Yeah, but God gave men the intellect to go into the laboratory, and God made those type of germs that could come together and be that deadly, and designated the time for it. You know how I know that? I know that because you believe in this Bible. And this Bible says, according to your belief, that the people in Sodom and Gomorrah were homosexuals. And they didn't die of AIDS. So what happened? God got a new idea? Blowing up homosexuals and destroying cities ain't good enough? So he came up with a bacteria? Why aren't you looking at it that way when they say AIDS is a homosexual disease?
AIDS is a man-made, genetically engineered virus that was either accidentally or deliberately introduced into the world's population. AIDS is not a homosexual disease. AIDS is not a venereal disease. AIDS did not originate from the green monkey. AIDS is not prevented by the use of condoms. And AIDS is not likely to ever be cured by a vaccine.
Your reverends, this is Jerry Falwell's Moral Majority, and Billy Graham, and Reverend Price, and Reverend Swagger, and Reverend... Oh, he wouldn't say that. He got no sugar in his own shoes. But most of them are saying that God brought AIDS into existence to eliminate homosexuals, and they go back to Genesis and say God sent angels down from heaven to eliminate homosexuals. Thousands of years ago, he had to use a method of blowing up the city. Now God uses germ warfare. Doesn't that sound like God belongs to the United States of Negro? Because thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, in the First and Second World War, they were blowing up people. Now people came back from Desert Storm, and they're complaining because of germ warfare. So, please listen to what I'm saying. So you're telling me God used bombs like in Hiroshima and Nagasaki a long time ago, and now God uses AIDS, germ warfare, like they did in Gulf Freeze. Don't you see that some man wrote this, and he has God stepping down through history with him? And he has modernized God's judgment up to the level of his. And he can't even take God beyond his level because it ain't God right here. And if it was, you'd be able to go into this book and find something in here, or the Quran, the Bible, or the Quran, that is non-earthly. It would be a cue to you that this is from somewhere else. But you can't tell me anything in these books that are not related to earth. And when they tell you and me about, this is not really funny, but hell, Betty Shabazz already had hell. Now, if she was a wicked woman, what would she be getting, being she got burnt to death already on this side of things? You hear me? What would be her judgment? Would God have to come up with a new system, a new kind of fire? But in here, fire is described as sulfur, fire and brimstone. Go into the Greek and research. It uses the elements of the planet. And all of us are familiar with fire in its many forms. Right? Right. And oxygen is needed to keep it burning. God speaks about rivers in heaven. Hydrogen and oxygen is in heaven. The tree in the garden, it had to grow before Adam met it. Now, did God come down with some angels and plant a full-grown tree in the garden for the sole purpose of testing Adam and Eve? Or did they plant seeds in the garden and wait for it to grow? Listen to me right now. God came down to earth where there was a garden and no tree. He plants a tree, nurtures the tree of good and evil, lets it grow, and then sends some innocent children he created who he knows don't have nothing inside their head, and lets them walk up into the tree, and a snake who he obviously created, because he created, he had a snake waiting for him like this, who was the most subtle of all the beasts of the field. First of all, snakes are not beasts of the field, but anyway, let's just keep going on. The snake is around the tree waiting. Here comes young Eve. No offense to women. She was dumb in so far she didn't know anything. There wasn't nothing to know. Ain't nothing was here. Didn't know what was here. It's not an insult. Like, there's nothing. You're holding a book and ain't got. I can't learn nothing. So Eve is walking down the road, minding her business, and here a beast who this book describes. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Oh, wait, I went all the way to Genesis 24. What am I running? Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, not created. And there's a difference in it. So this being was cunning. That's what subtle means. Manipulative, conniving, shrewd. Right? And then I send a little innocent girl. Because I'm assuming being Adam and Eve was just born. Unless we queuing on the age. If I'm saying being Adam and Eve was just born, they will come into the garden with a big diaper on. And God had the mat waiting next to the tree for them. The master con artist was waiting next to the tree, and in comes Eve, and he goes, obviously, because he calls him the whisperer. He goes, psst. And he goes, yes. Come here, let me tell you something. Let me see what he tells her. Here's what he said. Unto the woman, yea. As God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. That's what he said. Did God tell you not to eat of every tree? This is a tree God grew, y'all. Waited for it to grow. Then created the poor innocent woman, directed her intelligence towards the tree, while at the tree the devil was waiting for her, who was conniving, manipulative, and subtle. Okay, but this is what y'all want to believe. Show me. So let's see what happens. And the woman said unto the serpent, well, can I go back with a little bit? Snakes do not talk. Hello, ma'am. I have yet to be the snake. I heard a parrot. He say something. He can do it. God made it possible. God said parrots can learn to talk. But hell, there ain't a snake anywhere that has a voice box and can talk. Alright? We got that first? Yeah. So serpent is somebody's name. Like an old friend of mine from the Jitterbug days, we used to call him Snake. We said, what's up, Snake? Now, in the event that he got in the Bible, oh, he could talk. He could talk. He didn't talk You walk in the garden, see a snake around the tree, and the snake says, come here. And you gonna go, yes. You talking about sending your children somewhere being unprepared. I can jump from the Old Testament to the New Testament and come up with the same kind of unprepared child of God. So Jesus was like, oh my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass by me. I will now, I know kind of you do, but it's that. You know what he was talking about? He was talking about the crucifixion. Jesus did not want to die. Which means the whole story of Jesus being born and knowing he was going to die was a lie. Because if Jesus was born the Son of God and knew he was born to die, he would not have said, oh my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. He would not have ran when they were trying to catch him. You follow? If he knew this from birth, why was he afraid? What do they mean by, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? If God's plan was for his Son to come down and die for our sins, his Son would have been a willing sacrifice, something they stole out of Abraham's story and Isaac. But his Son, Jesus, if you read the Bible, did not want to die. Like the Pope. Now, why Jesus didn't want to go back to his Father? They said that he fell in the garden and he sweated blood. Homeworld was really going. I want to see one of y'all people there bend down and pray and sweat some blood. You know how hard homeboy had to be praying to change sweat into blood? But this is fake day and time. This is reality time. And this may not sound or sit right with your fancy, but until you can prove it otherwise, then you're going to have to deal with it. Until it shakes that spell of ignorance that is making us hate each other all over the world. And we the people, we're supposed to do something about the people that rule us that don't have all their marbles. Whether they rule us from the pulpit or Congress, wherever, we got to check them out. And we've got to get to the point where please don't get angry at me, where you're doing what I'm doing to people, and you tell people ahead of time. Don't get angry with me because I'm not a believer. Don't get angry because I'm not spooked out. Give me some concrete answers. When I finish talking for a little while, I will ask that brother right there to step up and sit over there so I can take that seat, and I'll let any one of y'all who want to come up here, who say you Jesus, or say you Muhammad, and you want to get up there and talk to us so we can ask you some questions, you can have this here. But don't get mad, because every time I ask questions, people get mad at me, because I go directly at you. I don't hold no punches because I'm dealing with the one thing that anybody or nobody can tamper with, and that's my soul. That's all I got left. They didn't took it. If you tell me that I have a destination in paradise, on the right or left or beneath or up, wherever, next to God, I am going to question you. Because I'm not going to spend the last days of my life sitting in a church or a mosque or synagogue humming with your ass to die and find out it ain't true. I want to know ahead of time. And if you can't prove it to me, don't be angry because I'm not a believer. And if you want to say, I'll go to hell, then hell, I'll go to hell. But I'm not going to no ignorant heaven. And to add to that, if the kind of people like Mother Teresa, the Pope, and the religious men I met in the Islamic world, if they ain't heaven, I don't want to be there. I don't want to go to a place where you sit down forever and do absolutely nothing. I don't want a couch with rivers flowing beneath it, with angels running around feeding me. I don't want to do that forever. I'd rather struggle on earth trying to get a job than to sit in a playground and do nothing but look at flowers all day. You can do that in an insane asylum. The nearest I've ever seen on earth to the heaven is an insane asylum, where a bunch of people are sitting around in the day room with clean when you die, you are going from insanity into an insane asylum where God will be with you, and that makes it okay. Well, I'm not that kind of fellow. So that's why I sit back and I look at this and say, well, let me go on and talk about this. And if the Reverend can defend himself, I'm with him. If he can't, he gets mad, he just has to scratch his ass and get glad. Don't mess up my soul because he's confused. To keep some oil in his Cadillac. He ain't doing it to me. You understand? Let's do it now. And the woman said to the serpent, what's he doing? She's talking to the snake. If I was walking down the street talking to a snake, where would they put me? Things that make me go. She said, now first of all, he's talking to her. This is women for you. We, if she includes us, she done pull us in and had him somewhere drunk from. He didn't know what the grapes was doing. He just ate the grapes and got drunk from us. You don't know. That's what most of us men do. We don't know. Y'all gotta forgive us. You know, when women get together, they call us dumb. We dumb. And so, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. That's all of them. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not touch it, you shall not eat it, neither shall you touch it, ye shall die. Die. God told Adam and Eve, or Adam or Eve, or Eve as she incorporated Adam, don't touch this tree. All the other trees you can touch. This one here, don't Adam or Eve as she incorporated Adam. Don't touch this tree. All the other trees you can touch. This one here, don't touch it, because the day you touch it, you're going to die. The word here is mut in Hebrew. Dead. It's not allegorical. It's not spiritual. The Hebrew word is mut and means dead. Not like not moving ever again. Cease breathing. Add the name is John. They add ED like John on the end of it. Dead. You got to be real. That's what it says. Dead. Now God said if you eat that stuff, I'm gonna kill your ass. You got me? Now that's clear to me. You wouldn't have to tell me that twice, not God. You don't have to tell me that once. I said, I got you. The servant said, I said, who are you, man? How do you get the balls to even question the big, the cheese? I want to know who are you. I wouldn't be questioning God. I would be questioning the servant. Now, one time in here, she started to say, oh, man, who are you? Right. Why he can't kill you? Why can't God kill the devil for introducing them to the fruit and introducing them to disobedience to God? Why is it that God can't kill the devil? Did you ever ask yourself that? Yes. You know why you don't ask yourself that? Why? Because that question walks hand in hand with the question is why is there evil on the planet? And if God didn't want all this corruption and evil and hate and racism, couldn't he? And shouldn't he just go poof and it be gone and it just be the most loving, beautiful place? Why must the rose die? Why must the rose die? And why must it have a thorn? Why must I be deceived by nature when I see a rose? And I go, that's such a beautiful, the first time. Isn't that such a beautiful flower? And I love her so very much that I'd like to rip this beautiful flower out the ground and kill it to give it to her and show her that I love her. And so I reach down in my loving concern for her at the base of the rose and go, ouch. God damn. to made us spoil? Why must the racing horse break his leg?
I will speak to you of a time when your destiny lies. Because of the ancient days when you view across the skies. We of the Ethereum beings Anunnaki till him what you must refer to as the elders or the Respian. On our planet, Risk, we had a living atmosphere. In our hunt for gold, we had...
No. Yea, ye shall not surely die. Now the devil is thinking for God. For God does know that the day ye eat thereof, your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, plural, knowing good and evil. So, the means by which a person becomes God is for them to disobey God and inherit evil because they already had good, because they were created in the image and after the likeness of God. So the only thing he could be talking about at this point is inheriting the evil side. So the way to become God is to become evil. That's what your Bible says. And I'll read it again for y'all who don't understand or overstand or in between stand what I'm saying. Verse 4 of Genesis chapter 3 says, thank you very much, John. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Now the devil is not scared of God. Right? He's not scared of being that makes thunder and lightning and earthquakes and rainstorms and parasites and diseases. He said, you ain't gonna die. There's a powerful individual here. But God's power, would you? No. He's doing it. You ain't gonna die. And then goes on. He says for, but it means because. Because God does, let's just say, because God knows that the day that you eat, at that day, because there's the word then there, and in Hebrew, then your eyes shall be open. What does that mean? What does that mean? When Eve was walking in the garden and she saw the serpent, did she have her eyes open or closed? Open. So what does this mean? It means your spiritual eye. You see? And it's so colorful, it's so you know, they're so swami. You know, so soupy to go your spiritual eye. For something evil. Your eyes shall be open and what? And you shall what? Be as God, knowing good from evil. And they confirm it further here. It says, now the man has become like one of us, to know good from evil. That's further down in the same chapter. In the further verses. These are cherubims talking. Now let's put man out of the garden. Because now he has become like one of us. What were those cherubims then? Were they good or evil? They were evil. Because man and woman, according to them, were created in the image after the likeness of God. So they were already good. Who can be gooder than God? So what they did and what they inherited was a new attribute, evil. But in becoming evil, they became like God. Could you please explain that to me? Why are they trying to trick my mind and talk behind my back? Why are they teaching me a doctrine that contradicts logic and common sense and sound right reasoning? Why are they doing that to me? And why would they make you mad at me for pointing out at you to make you see it? That man's crazy. That man talks against the Bible. That man's antichrist. Why? How can they get you to do that when all I'm doing is reading to you what you've been reading all your life? And you are helping me to see the interpretation. I didn't pre-write the interpretation. We're doing this right now. And if you could read this another way, then bring your natty ass up here. Because I'm reading the King James Version of the Bible. You understand? King James Version. A British Bible in America. You get the drift. It should be American Bible in America. In America. Alright. And the woman, and when, check this, and when the woman saw that the tree, so now it's okay, now she sees, that the tree was good for food, it was edible. Nowhere in here does it say apple. There's no apple in here. Somebody stuck apple in there. In Sunday school, apple got in there. Apples are not that old. There's over 1,000 species of apples. What kind of apple was it? Was it a Mac? Yes. But if you ask that question in church, the reverend will get mad at you. The Sunday school teacher will report it to your grandmother, because your grandmother's the one who whipped your ass about church. Your mother just says, stop acting up. But grandma said, come here. Bring your ass over here. You never say that again to you. If you question, she'll tear you up with that switch. You know that switch I'm talking about, that singing switch. You hear me? Yes, because something inside of me, something says, Ma, you know, well, if Adam and Eve were the only people on the planet and had two sons, Cain and Abel, where did they get their wives from? Why? You little heathen, go to your room. That's where it started. That's where the block got placed in. So when I start talking about you, you start going, ouch. Even you grown, you still get that sound. Your mind is conditioned not to question this book. So you start saying, that man crazy. No, this man got beat so many times that his grandmother's arm got tired. And then she said, what do you want to know, boy? I said, I don't know. And I said, after 15,000 beatings and 250,000 whips, I said, that's all I want to know, Grandma, is that you don't know and Reverend Porkchop don't know either. That's all I want to know. I don't want to know. Does somebody know? I don't want to tell you, who are the people of the land of Nod? Where did they come from? The Bible says Cain left the garden and went to the land of Nod. And nobody was on the planet but Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. So if you go to the land of Nod and nobody was there, what's Is it me? Is it only me? I mean, am I crazy because I see things like this? Well, if I see things like this, and God has provided me with an audience of millions of listeners, then God must want me to talk to you. There must be time to hear it. Because people are coming to Nawapo from all walks of life. We got people in Russia, all in Malaysia. In Nigeria, there's a conflict going on because our people are spreading it over there and the Muslims are getting mad. All out in Ghana, South Africa, all the way over to Japan even. They're asking, will you put the books in Japanese? I said, if I could, I would. But I can't, so I shan't. But in the event that someone does, or do, you got it. Why is it time to know the truth? Can I dwell on it a little more? Who was Cain afraid of killing him? When he told God, the burden you put upon me for killing my brother is too great. Anyone who catches me is going to kill me. Anyone who came, nobody's on the planet except you, your father, your brother. Well, you killed your brother. He wasn't there no more. So there's the mother and father and you. Who was he afraid was going to kill him? And this opens a can of beans to the reality that the planet had people on it before Adam and Eve. Now, archaeologists and paleontologists because he cannot explain who these people are. But we talked about a part of the Bible here in Genesis where it says, and the gold of that land is good. And it takes thousands of years for gold to process it, not even more than thousands of years, for coal and earth to crush down and become diamonds. But the Bible talks about the diamonds of God. It talks about gold in Genesis. But the Christians will tell you that the Bible is not more than 6,000 years old, stretching it in Islam to 10. But it takes millions of years for Mother Nature to make gold. So how is it in Genesis that the gold of the land of Ethiopia is good, and man wasn't even on a planet of hot wheat in Genesis? The planet must have existed millions of years before Adam and Eve in order for God to say the gold of that land is good. There must have been people on the planet Earth in order for Cain to find himself a wife. There must have been evil people before Adam and Eve and the serpent if Cain was afraid of somebody killing him who God didn't know. God's information was limited. God didn't even know those people. The Bible says there were giants in Genesis chapter 6. There were giants in the earth in those days. Who gave the giants? Because if Adam and Eve were not the giants, and they were created in the image and after the likeness of God, then the giants were bigger than God. That means the giants were the one up for not God. This Bible says the people on the planet with 6 fingers called Goliath the son. 6 fingers in total. And if man is looking to pay him to God, please hold up your right hand again and count. How many fingers do you see? If I kick off this funky boot, you see how many toes? Now, if man is in the image and after the likeness of God, and most of the men I see have what? 5 fingers. And most of the women I see have 5 fingers. And women, they're always fumbling with their toes, so not hard to count them. Every now and then they get a 6th toe if they lean over too far. That'll come to you a little later. I tell you what, the people that understand what I'm talking about, they don't want to explain what I'm talking about. Whose image and whose likeness are the people in the Bible with 6 toes and fingers then? Did Jesus have 6 toes and fingers? Then why in Genesis chapter 6, when they talk about those giants, it says, and it came to pass when men, and the word there in Hebrew is Adam, we showed it on the screen for y'all, on the computer, began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. So men were first without the daughters. How did that happen? How did men multiply on the earth without daughters? Do it again. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. So the men were multiplying without the women first? Bull crap. Scientists have proven that there's a gene called a mitochondria, DNA, proving that woman was on the planet first. This is wrong. This is just flat out unscientific and wrong. So now you want to know what man who did not know science wrote this crap. It's not a genetic fact any longer. Now what? But Reverend will say, you just got to believe. Believe Malachi crazy. And you say, okay, Reverend. Now go to verse 2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fit, and they took them wives of all which they chose. What? Men was on earth, they multiplied and had daughters, And now sons of God took his daughters. Who are these sons of God? I don't see them back here in Genesis anywhere. Oh, I think I do. I think I see them. I think these sons of God might be called cherubims. I think those sons of God might be called us. Now man has become like one of us, to know good from evil. I think these sons of God must be evil beings that were giants that was on the earth before man. I think that damn serpent belonged to that group of people who would lean on that tree, who was a giant, a cherubim, and had the power to go against God. He had power to resist the orders and commandments of God. I think I found the realm. Power to go against God. He had power to resist the orders and commandments of God. I think I found the realm. But are you going to bear witness to the fact? Or are you going to be tucking it in your gas tank? And it'll go on. And the sons of God told the daughters of man that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. They slept with some and left others. And the Lord said, now God steps in, Yahweh, Yahweh is in the Hebrew. And the Lord said, my ruach, my soul. God steps in and says, my soul shall not always strive with man. For that, it's going to make difference. For I did that in English class, I failed. For that. For that, he also is flesh. Who are we talking about? They say Jesus in the Christian church. This is talking about somebody who apparently is evil. This is talking about somebody who is one of the giants. This is not talking about a son of Adam. And Jesus was called the son of Adam. Like Adam. Conceived like Adam. But right here in Genesis chapter 6, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh. Yet now, his days shall be 120. He's going to live in the flesh for 120 years. That's not Jesus. Jesus lived 33 years, according to you, not crucified. Ain't but one man in the whole Bible lived to be 120, and that's Moses. And unless Moses is the Son of God, then that contradicts the God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Or his unique, they try to put the New Revised Version. Son. You hear me? Why are they playing these games with your mind? Because through this book, wars have been fought. Thousands of people starved and died. Hate. They actually took Jeffrey Dahmer in church. I'm sorry, in court. You hear me? And asked him in a building set aside to be governed by the state, which is separate from religion. And asked him in this building set aside for the state that is other than religion, do he swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. In this building, separate from church, governed by the state, they're asking him to make a religious proclamation. And in this book, in the book of Exodus, one of the commandments of the God of this book is, thou shalt not kill. It doesn't say, thou shalt not kill, with the exception of a jury of your peers and a judge of execution. God says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Now these Christians believe this book, but when it comes down to God's vengeance, all of a sudden, they want to put God aside and say, don't believe God. Sounds familiar? Let us kill him. They want to kill the boy. What's the kid who blew up Christians will stand up there saying, kill him on national television. They interviewed each one. Ask them, how do you feel? I think you should get the death penalty. Where is the Christian spirit? Where is the belief in God's commandments? And who gave the judge the right to condemn you to death? Who did? And how did this book here end up in court anyway? Shouldn't they have you swearing on the Constitution? What happened? Reach in your pocket and pull out a dollar bill. Now we stepped into another institution, the Federal Reserve. That's not a religious institution. No. That's a monetary system that is responsible for all the crime on the damn planet. Stealing, selling drugs, gold trafficking, slavery, all is based on money. Why they have on the back of the dollar bill, in God we trust, and then on the top of the courtroom, in God we trust, and neither one of those people trust God. But if they trust God, God said, vengeance is mine. And if Jeffrey Dahmer did wrong, then God would have taken care of it. They will call you crazy and subversive if you preach that type of doctrine. If I say to the Muslim world, the sheikh who went down to the World Trade Building and blew up the building to avenge America, he didn't believe in Allah. Because Allah says he'll take care of his enemies in the Quran. So what were you doing? You were trying to be Allah? You understand me? Yeah. It's things like that that you got to present to the world. As I present to you. You got to walk these people through this stuff. The book opened itself to Job. It just flung open when I was beating on it. I'm saying that because Job wants his story told. Now, if you are a spiritual person, then you believe that this Bible opened itself to Job. You see me throw it down and bang on it, and I look back, I was in Genesis a minute ago, and now I'm at Job. And the story of Job is so prominent, I'll close it again in case someone else wants to talk to him. I want to know why God singled this man out. This good, not this good man. But why would God single this good man out? Job, a good, righteous servant of God, obedient to God. He had a job and everything. He did everything he was supposed to do. He was a family man. He had his flocks, he had servants, everybody was happy. And one day, the angels, they didn't call Job and say to Job, Job, you ain't go visit God. Job was down in Georgia, minding his business, taking care of his family affairs. And the devil goes with the angels. First of all, why do the angels let the devil hang out with them? Back to Job again. Job, I guess you want me to shut up. All right, Job, I get your message. You want me to tell you a story. Job wants everybody to know that he don't feel that he got fair treatment. Job wants everybody to know that of all the people on the planet, Job is saying the same thing many of us have said. Why me? Why my brother gotta die? Why my daughter got to die? Why my mother got to die too? Why me? I look at all them dope dealers and killers and why ain't you wiping them out? Why are you killing the good? And everybody here has had somebody in their neighborhood that died. And I was against it too. And I know, I'm saying, Ralphie was a nice guy. Vincent just eviled away. But Ralphie, the nice guy in your neighborhood, the unexpected one. You be saying, he had to die. He's a nice kid. It comes on no, the kid just pointed the gun in class and shot and Bobby died. Bobby's a good kid. That's the way I'm saying. I can think of a few other things that should be dead. That's the way you think. You know what I'm saying? When you point out that this guy is good, why? Tell me why. How many people here have lost loved ones? I ain't trying to touch the heart, but I have too. And have to say to yourself, why? Why? I don't understand this. Where is the mercy? There's people with AIDS who are not in, what do you call it, what's the word? Not only sexual, they're not promiscuous. They're catching it by accident. Why? Why wars? Why these mothers send their children over to foreign countries for political purposes and they never come home? And their hearts are torn out. And all I got on the mantelpiece is a picture. Why? You know what I mean? I was in India. People there are dying. I was in Somalia, Ethiopia. People there are dying, starving to death. But because they're Hindu, maybe, or Buddhist, the God of Christianity and Islam doesn't care. So he gives the Saudi Arabians billions of dollars in oil money. You hear me? And he lets religious people of a different faith starve to death. I don't believe that crap. And I don't care whether you like it. I just don't believe that there's no God sitting up there and he's allocating success and suffering. And he decides that the good guy in the neighborhood should die, or the football star messes up his knee and has to retire from his career, or the opera singer loses her voice. It's a hell of a joke. I don't believe it. I don't believe there's a God that lets people live in one neighborhood starving and you can drive down the other side and everybody's living good. I don't believe it. I don't like his sense of humor. Stevie Wonder's a close friend of mine. You understand? And what would you do if you had the money of Stevie Wonder? You hear me? But God arranged for Stevie Wonder to have the money, but not the sight to appreciate it. And the beauty that he expresses through his music, if you know him, he's a very beautiful person. But he doesn't get the joy. But Michael Jackson. And I'm not talking about his skin disease. You know, he's cutting his nose, ain't too many niggas in here. After the brainwashing, wouldn't want to shave off that big old 4-finger nose you got, though. Let's not, let's be for real. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm talking about, right? People, right? That's what I'm talking about. Just like Michael Jackson, that's it. Same thing I can say about David Bowie or a lot of other people. Why are they giving these crazy people success? Why does Twisted Sister have success? Why does Luke Skywalker have success? And mean nobody no good. Lust and filth. Why? I don't believe that no God is that cruel. I just don't believe it. And if you do, that's you. And I know you Christian people all come, well, God, he don't like certain people. I don't believe God don't like people. I don't believe God picks out groups and religions and races and prefers them over others. I don't believe it. That's a human thing. And God, you had to personify into a human being just so you can justify human attributes by saying God came down to earth as a man. So you know he can think and act like you, so you can justify your low-way thinking. You didn't want to keep God as a supreme being outside of the physical realm because you could not predict his decisions. But if you make him a man like you, then you can say God thinks like me because he is God in the flesh, Jesus. Very convenient for human beings. And God don't care. Oh, chicken's going to be in heaven? I'm asking y'all, are chickens going to be in heaven? Right? See what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So grapes are there for you to rip them off their vine. Well, your head looks like a grape to somebody twice the size. Well, their greatest pleasure was popping your head off and drinking the juice out your brain. Because most of the women in here, can women raise their hands? Come on, women, raise them hands up here. Don't be a child. Now, y'all know y'all think plants think. Women think plants feel. Or you unusual. Most women say, let me do how you doing, baby. And then what the question eggshells. What are you putting eggs in there? Well, plants like eggs. Plants like eggs? What is a plant? What do you like eggs. So you assume that the plant likes eggs. Well, it makes it grow healthier. Do you ever think it's trying to get out of the base? It's trying to get away from you and your egg. In the world of right now, you're trained to think like that. Job says he got unfair treatment. That he was singled out to suffer for nothing. And everything was taken from him. His wife, his children, his land. And that wasn't enough. They put boils all over his body. For absolutely nothing. Just because God and the devil made a bet. God is a gambling man here. The devil told God, I know one. You know, Job, if you take away your protection from him and your blessings, I bet you he'll deny you. Right? Then God said, you got it. How much you got? I'm telling you, God is betting. Read the book of Job. He is actually making a bet on Job's life. Tell me where that's fair. Tell me how that's fair. And then God said, well, after it's all over, and God won the bet, and he folded the roll and put it back in his robe. I assume he made the robe. I know Miss God makes him something. He puts his money back in his pocket. And then he looks back at Job and says, oh, bitch up. So he gives Job another wife, some new flocks, some new children. I don't want another wife. I want the wife I was loving before you and the devil made a bet with my life. I don't want a new wife. I'm happy with my wife. Could I have my wife back? You, God, just don't put and reverse the shit. Can't God reverse it? Couldn't he just say, let's go back and remove it, and it gets between him and the devil? Says, no, you can't get Job. Now, close the book of Job. Let's move on. Could he do that? Did he do that? No. Why not? That's the same why not that we always ask. Because we are alone in our sorrows. And the sooner you realize the helping hand you're looking for is at the end of your arm, the better off you're going to be as men and women. The moment you make up your mind, them doggone crazy eyes made Egypt a place we all would love to visit but can't go because of Islamic fundamentalism and fanaticism attacking people. So damn it, if Muhammad didn't go to the mountain would have came to Muhammad. I said I was going to take all y'all back to Egypt with me. I can't because the Arabs are messing everything up, so hell, I'm bringing Egypt here for you. That in itself is nothing but an example of what every one of us can do. We all can change the condition of things, right? But it's an individual thing. Each one of you have to make up your mind to not believe anything. You follow that? And when they tell you to believe it, say, I don't want to offend you. I just don't believe it unless you can prove it to me. He's going to get mad at me. I may be stupid. I may be naive. It may be my fault. But I just don't believe it. I want to know. Because that belief system is what made us hate each other. That belief system is responsible for war and death. You understand? And I don't want it no more. And I don't want the sons and daughters of God to want it. And I get confused in here about who they are. This book here is real confusing. I just read, I can keep reading, I can keep showing you more and more and more confusion. That Adam and Eve story, it goes on here. Where are we at here? You want me to go some more with it? Yeah. Let's look at this thing while we're here. Y'all don't mind a little time, do you? It says there. Back to 6 again. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, why? Why did God make it good for food? If it's something that they shouldn't want. Okay? And that it was pleasant to the sight. Why did God make it so beautiful? Because you're going to say, because God, I'll let you say, because God was just with it. And a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit. Desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband, which were with her, and he did eat. Why? Why did God make a tree for babies, for human beings? Not endow them with enough intelligence to know better. Instead of being after them, that is the most cunning person or being on the planet, and then make the tree good for food. Not just chicken, but good chicken. Not just good chicken, but chicken that looks good. And chicken that I can learn how to cook. They all make me wise. Why would he do that? You say because God was testing us. And I say, why does God have to test people when he can just go, boom, here it is. Boom, here it is. Isn't that the way they say? We say, I remember we say, kun fayakun. Allah says, good thing, kun fayakun. In existence, and in be, or how you say, be it shall be. That's all, boom. But yet women have babies in 9 months. No, I ain't no boom. When you women prefer to just go, boom. Well, not that fast with the jiggity, but that fast with the boom. Some jiggity guys. And you give a light works to Joe. It's all right. Everything is all right. Just have to believe. You're going to get that nut one day. Let's stay on track. So, and the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together. Needles? Thread? What kind of thread? Have any of y'all seen fig leaves? Go look at fig leaves. You can't sew fig leaves together. This is just some stuff that's big for somebody who's going to go, okay. Okay. You never even go, fig leaves. Go to your computer, bring up figs. Leaves on the fig. This is parabolic. This is a myth. This is a spiritual. So, that's what they do to your mind. It's like, they ate the fruit, and then they're like, yeah, oh, what's that? But oops, and they covered it up. Hello? Angels come from heaven with clothes. The serpent in the tree was talking to them had on clothes. Who made the clothes? What are the clothes made of? Are they cotton robes? Or the angels get the best and get silk robes? Does something that have a pattern? The angel, because your grandma said, I saw him standing at the end of my bed. And he had a long white flowing robe. He had his hand stepped out saying, come on. And I said, Grandma, who made the robe for the angel? They have sewing machines in heaven, Grandma? Or they have seamstress in heaven? Then my mind goes, get a flash back of that switch. But it stayed in my mind as a young man to question it. Why I was given that curse or gift to this day, I don't know. But I do know that if I can get it into you, and you go back out in the world, you will set the record straight. Right. A lot of your grandmothers thought they were going to heaven when they died and spent the best part in the last days of their life coughing up money out their little stocking. They have a little stocking with them. Remember that? You go down the purse and take out a stocking and untie that stocking and pour it inside there. That slimy ass reverend who really a snake in the garden takes my grandmother's money. Have my grandmother jumping up and down in church, banging on a tambourine, and she must bring herself. You understand? They give you free Bibles, though, and so does Howard Johnson, and Holiday Inn, and every other hotel, and Hyatt. Right? And Grandma gets a pop in the tambourine while the Reverend gets the trumpet. And the deacons asleep. And these big old fat college mean girls will probably go to and love you. They got nothing else to do. Ain't nobody taking their ass out anyway. So they go in the choir meeting every Thursday. Otherwise, Thursday will be in front of the TV wishing. Whole bunch of women looking like the Nutty Professor. That's why. Why is the choir always big, 4 turkey-eating looking women? The big old wigs that slide as they sing. With skin in the wig that's not color up their forehead. The big old earrings that are made of plastic and are shining. And these gaudy ass outfits with these big ass titties talking like that. It's all true. You may not like what I'm saying, but you know it's true. There's some flaming faggot up front doing this. Am I right? Am I making this up? This is church. That's the church. And he's lying his ass off. And the music is jumping. And your grandmother's legs are rocking. And you're looking around scared to death as a kid. But you don't know who's going to get the Holy Ghost and who they going to land on. And if one of them big 4,000 women drop down on you, that might be the last day of your life. Truth is truth. And then you tell me she got the Holy Ghost. She's 70 years old on the ground, foaming out her mouth, her feet kicking. Some old Lord is fanning her, and the Reverend walks over and goes, and he says he's speaking in tongues. Y'all believe in it? Hey, time to go. That stuff got to go. It's a nice show. It's very colorful. It can be very exciting. But 70-year-olds are not supposed to be pulled out of chairs by, according to St. John chapter 16, by a comforter. The Holy Ghost, according to this book, is a comforter. Flipping on the ground and foaming in the aisle and dancing like a chicken. Doesn't strike me as a very comfortable thing to do. They must be possessed by legions of demons. Because God wouldn't treat those 70-year-olds because he constructed the body. He knows the bones are weak of that. He would never have a woman flop up out that chair and bounce down on that ground, rolling and foaming out her mouth like she's having an epileptic fit. And the church covered that demonic possession of and say she's filled with the Holy Ghost. Which Holy Ghost, fool? I don't see that in here. Show me in here. He said, well, in the books of Acts. What about the books of Acts? It says speaking in tongues. Not in this book it don't. It says lisanun. Lisanun. Dialect. You know what that means? That there is an original classical language that has been broken down into colloquial language and becomes a dialect. And you're saying that in Acts 3, the Holy Ghost comes on the day of Pentecost, and as a light of fire, you believe. God is using fire. You said to me that fire is the tool of the devil, and that tranquility and bliss and peace is the tool of God. But in the day of Pentecost, and peace is the tool of God. But in the day of Pentecost, while the deceptive, deceiving, punk-ass, shifty-ass disciples who ran their ass off when Jesus had a problem, after saying over and over again, Lord, we with you, Lord, we with you, when they came to the garden of the book of St. John said, them niggas ran. How you going to desert God? Can I walk with you there? Let's do it there. In the garden, a man's head is cut off. In the midst of everybody. And Jesus, the real Jesus, when you people were sitting there who think I don't recognize the real Jesus, they got the wrong story. The real Jesus reached down and picked the man's head up and put it back on in front of everybody. What kind of person would not believe that? If you were standing there, if you was a Muslim, if you were a Hindu or Buddhist or Satanic, and you were standing there and someone chopped somebody's head off in front of you, and a man that you heard was God incarnate, an avatar, and it was a portion of God in the flesh, he reached down and takes the man's head up and puts it back on, and there's no bleeding and no stitches. Would you believe that? Yeah. Yes, you would. You tell me what soldier, centurion, or Jew that was standing in that garden at night when that happened, they wouldn't believe. And you tell me who wrote the story of them taking him away from there. But if I was a soldier sent to get you, and this man is Jesus, and he put your hair back on, ain't nowhere in the world I'm taking him into custody. Anybody who sent me got a problem. That's when you become warrior for God. That's when you stand in front of God. You say, I'm going to defend you. You want to run like the disciples did. Not even that is enough. When they came and asked for Jesus, they said, which one of y'all is Jesus? He said, I am Jesus. And they fell on the ground, it says in the Bible. They all turned around and fell to the ground. Now these men came out to get Jesus. They were policemen. And the FBI was there because the Pharisees were there. They didn't just have to say he's in the cops. They wanted the FBI with them. And the Jews were there. And they came to get the man. And Jesus was standing there because he didn't want any of his mortal brothers or children to be hurt. So he came out front. He himself came out. No, Jesus didn't send his son out. He sent his only begotten son because he loved him so much. He loved his disciples so much that when they came to kill him and they didn't know which one was him because they said, you got to kiss him so we'll know him. Right. Betray him with a kiss. But then Jesus didn't wait for that. He said, here I am. I'm Jesus. And read your Bible and tell you if they turned around and fell on the ground. They didn't have no flashlights on. They had lanterns. When they fell, the lanterns went out. But Jesus, out of the love of his disciples, a second time in the darkness to make it clear that they don't grab the wrong person and say, I am he. That's right. And they fell on the ground again. The real Jesus had power. See, this plastic ass punk y'all talking about, in church, I don't know who he is. That ain't the real Jesus. That ain't the real avatar come to earth. Avatars come to earth. Jesus is not unique. Krishna was an avatar that came to earth. There's an avatar living in India right now called Satya Sai Baba, an incarnation of Trinity Sai Baba. You're looking at an incarnation, an avatar. We come to earth to right the wrong, to set the record straight. Every cycle, you come to earth. You either accept us or reject us. But we will do the abnormal for you. And you have read this book your whole life. Your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, and multiple denominations of preachers and teachers, and none of them can show you what's right in it. And I ain't changed the word. I'm revealing the word that you can see that it's cloudy. Why? Because a new year is coming. A new cycle is coming in. A spiritual cycle is coming in. The Aztecs talked about it. The Mayans talked about it. The ancient Egyptians talked about it. The Hopi. We're in the cycles of a changing world. Revelation 21 says, I'll wipe out this earth and wipe out this heaven and bring in a new heaven and a new earth. It tells you about crafts coming. Right in the book of Revelation. It says a whole crystal city is going to come down out of heaven. You want to go there? Yeah! Oh my. I got as much time as y'all got. Revelation chapter 21. And I saw a new heaven, Shemarim, Shemaz, Hebrew, Shemith, upwards. Greek, Aranios, Orion, a new Orion star. If you stand out here tonight and look up, you see the Orion star come new over the horizon. 3 stars lined up there, like this. And these 3 stars went across the Orion belt. And those 3 pyramids, they will line up perfectly. It goes right over this. Right over here, a pyramid for building will line up. Alright? This is the part of ancient time. This is what Jesus said when he said, Our Father who art in Orion. Go to your Greek Bible, take the Strong's Concordance, bring it up in your computer. Have you done it? And you push the button on the heaven in the New Testament of the Greek, it says Orion. And then go to the galaxy and punch in and say Orion. Go to Job and it tells you about Orion. Jesus was talking about a star constellation. He said, my Father is in that star constellation. I am from above. You are from beneath. I come down to you. I went back up. He went up in the front of his disciples. They seen him go and come back. Talking about UFO. He literally says, Our Father who art in Orion. Here. And I saw a new heaven. A new kind of sky. You know why it's a new heaven? Because never have they saw all the planets line up before. Something that never happened before in this cycle is. The new heaven on May 5th, 2000 was programmed by the 4 planets that lined up a couple of months ago. In these certain amount of months, all the way up to the year 2000, May 5th, 2000, you will look up and you'll see a new heaven. And the new heaven is going to cause a new earth. And this is why the earth is shifting. This is why the climates are changing. This is why it's freezes and droughts and earthquakes. This is why 1,000-year-old volcanoes are erupting. This is why we have diseases like streptococcus, AIDS, because they're wiping out the earth. And only those people with the seal of the Father will make it. And there's people who stand beside the people with the seal of the Father, but they have the seal of the devil on their heads. And Jesus pointed them out in the book of Matthew 24. He said, many gonna come in my name and say I am Christ. He said, in other words, watch out for people who call themselves Christians. He said, many will come in my name, Christian, and say I am Christ. Not say he is Christ, but they'll tell you that Jesus is the Christ. He said, if they tell you in Matthew 24, if they tell you I'm coming from the east, don't believe them. They take them down to some sacred chamber. Believe them not. He told them how far the sun shining from the east unto the west. The rising sun, the constellation. As it comes out of the east, and as we watch tonight, you'll see the Orion stars come across the east and descend in the west. So shall coming of the Son of Man be. In my Father's house, star constellation, there are many mansions. If it was not true, he said, I wouldn't tell you. But I only speak the truth. That's what he said. But he told us astrology is demonic. Astrology is this. Astrology is the devil. But yet, the three wise men followed the star out of the east to find out where that child was to be born. King of the Jews, not king of the Jews. You understand? They followed the astrology charts from Persia. They were astrologers. The Bible calls them Malachi. Come on, Michael. Look it up. It means astrologers. They charted. Jesus is coming by monitoring the star. And all the Christians will be told, don't look that way. When tonight you see three stars, three wise men come over the horizon, horizon, horizon. You know, right over us, you can stay out here until 11 o'clock, to 12 o'clock as they set on the west. So, that's when you know. And now every 70 days, it disappears. It comes back around, and we watch it. And as I saw, and I chart where to put the buildings at, in order to create the structure, so that when the elders come over, hey, that's the Holy Ghost. When it touches you so deep that you can't express it, but you know it so well. That's when this happens. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth was what? Passed away. There were no more. Now watch. And I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, Urushalayim. Uru means city of Shalom, of bliss and peace. I saw a new one, not the old one, not the Jerusalem that Christ came to, but a new Jerusalem, a new city of peace. That's what we're trying to build out here today. A peaceful place where people can live for, of, and by each other. Where people that were drug addicts give up the drugs, and people that were prostitutes give up the prostitution. People that steal stop stealing, and everybody cares for all the children. And everybody is their brother's keeper. If it wasn't meant to be, he wouldn't have asked him. He said, am I my brother's keeper? That's what Cain said. If it wasn't meant for you to be your brother's keeper, then God would have never had the angel ask him. Yes, I am your keeper, and you mine. Yes, I am your watcher, and you mine. Yes, I am your protector, and you mine. You got to protect our families, because nobody else ain't going to protect us. We got to build community, a city of peace, and then the energy, the beauty, the love, the harmony would just generate. They say the smoke of the burning incense reached up to heaven, and God smelled it. You'll smell the beauty. You understand? He'll send his servant down and say, see that city over there? Go down here and see what my children are doing. Why don't you talk about it? It's in here. Go down there when they come here. The angels come as human beings in here. That's right. And they supped with them. And they ate with them. You know that I know seed of beauty in your saying. You got a report to me. All right. You can go back and say, I do. Or Yahweh. Or Elohim. Or Law. Or any name you want. It's all right there. Right. It's all right. So when you wipe out this world, you can stay at them and use them to replenish. Right.